The sponsor of this episode is Chadwell Supply, an OG in the multifamily industry. Chadwell is the largest privately owned maintenance and repair supplier, and they deliver orders the next day from local warehouses across the United States. To find out how Chadwell Supply will make your day better, visit www.chadwellsupply.com/difference.
Hello, welcome to another episode of 8 Stories, brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. And 8 Stories is the go-to podcast for anyone who enjoys listening to stories about the multifamily space. We cover everything from the fun to the weird to the thoughtful. So I'm Sharon Cauthen, and this is my co-host, Jennifer Carter. And if you're new here, we want to thank you for joining us. And we sort of take this along an 8-story property, if you will. So we are going to start with story number 1. And we'd love to hear first of all, please like and subscribe so you can find us again. You don't miss any future episodes. And we would love to hear what you think or what you would add to this conversation. So today's topic is the best advice I've ever received. And Jennifer and I reached out to people in multifamily and also in personal lives. And we've got just so much good advice that we may need to do a part 2 of this series. But Jennifer, do you want to kick it off with the first one?
Yeah, the first one we received it's really, I think, a great one to kick it off with. It's never too late to begin something new. And the first thing that comes to mind is podcasting, right?
Right.
That's a great way to even segue into what we're doing. I love that. I personally think that, without trying something new, you just don't know, right? And if you don't know, you don't try, then you can't change or redirect or, you learn a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, it wasn't something that we just immediately thought, we'll be great at this. Jennifer and I both came into this nervous and sort of daring each other to do it. And we just thought, so what if it flops? So what if nobody ever sees it? We will have given it a shot. And here we are. This is our 13th episode. And I think we've got enough material to go the long haul. And we'd love it if you guys joined us along the way. But whether it's podcasting or whether it's taking up pottery or learning how to paint or anything that is creative, it's a great time to try it. And I always tell the story about my mother-in-law who was 80 when she first picked up a paintbrush. And she went on to create probably 30 excellent paintings that we all have now that she's passed away. And what if she'd never made the attempt, right? So I just encourage everybody to try something.
I would. Yeah. And I would also add, don't wait for the right time, because there'll never be a right time, right? Just go out and try it. Because if you don't, again, I don't think that there'll ever be a huge red or a huge green light, right? I think you need to kind of just take a chance and try something new.
That's so smart, because the right time never does come. The only right time ever is now.
Yes, exactly.
There never will be that green light that says, okay, everything in your world is lined up.
Oh,
everybody's well behaved. Now's the time to go for it. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to story number 2. And this was a great piece of advice that says peace comes from acceptance.
I love that. Yeah. I feel like that says it all. I don't know if I have anything even to add to that statement.
Well, people who work a 12-step program, one of the serenity prayer says, to the ability to accept the things we cannot change. And so I think peace really does come from saying, I cannot change that other person. I may not be able to change how someone else behaves, but I always have the choice of how I'm going to behave. But accepting that someone is the way that they are doesn't mean you have to hate them. It means that you stop expecting them to fulfill a need in you. So once you have that acceptance, then you're not always striving to think if you do the next thing, you'll somehow change someone else. The only person you have the ability to change is yourself. So I love peace comes from acceptance.
Yeah. And that also makes me think of working at a team, on site, right? Everybody has different personalities, right? Yes, you can all work well together, but there might be some quirks, right? About each person that, you need to kind of embrace and accept and see the positive of that. So keeping that kind of in mind from the work perspective.
My last note I'd add to that is that we've talked before that it doesn't matter how successful you are, there will come a time when your career takes an off-road that you may not have been expecting. And you have a choice then to either feel really bad about yourself and sort of constantly revisit that pain, or think the whole world is staring at you because of that, or you can just say, that was not pleasant, but I'm going to accept it and let it go, and I'm going to move forward. But the
That's
longer
right.
you stay there gripping your pain so tightly, the longer it is before you're free from it.
True. Very true.
Well, the next story was submitted to us by Suzanne Hobson, who is an amazing woman. She's also a podcaster on the Multifamily Media Network, and her website that's escaping me off the top of my head.
Here to Elevate.
That's what I thought. Yes, here,
Yep.
the number 2, elevate.com. So she sent in a piece of advice that said, don't assume anything about how people feel about you. If it isn't evident how they feel, like with real evidence, then it doesn't exist.
Oh, that's good. I hadn't heard that one. I like that.
I suspect I've wasted some time thinking that people felt a certain way about me. And right, with the lack of evidence and clear evidence, not your interpretation of evidence, then it's likely not even true. It's all in your head.
Yeah, it's like assuming, right? Like you don't want to assume, because we all know what that happens when you do that. But
not only that, you create the outcome then. Like you sort of made the thing, you manifested the thing you were afraid of by giving it so much energy. So I love Suzanne, and I love that bit of wisdom.
Yeah, that's great. I love the next one though. The next one, I'm a big fan. You are your best advocate, and don't expect others to advocate for you. And I think that's super, super true, right? I think that in the end, you need to have a voice and use it, and we want to make sure you use it appropriately, but ultimately to own what you feel or how you think, and your ideas, and advocate for that, because again, you can't assume or expect others to do that, right? Kind of leading into what we kind of talked about before.
It's a tough one, learning to advocate for yourself, that the world does not fall apart whenever you raise your hand to say, this doesn't feel right to me, and I'm not sure that I'm on board with it. Never has the entire building collapsed because you said that. And then I remember when I was younger in my career, I would look around and think that everybody else it was so easy for them to speak up for themselves. And I was always like, eh. And then when I didn't speak up, I felt like I sort of put my foot in my mouth sometimes, and that's okay too. But yeah, nobody else is going to ever fully understand your perspective. They don't know what's in your head, and you have to be willing to speak up for yourself and advocate.
Well, because only you have walked in your own footsteps, truly, right? Not everybody else has had that chance, or fully will take every single same step that you have. So, you or yourself is your best advocate.
So you can certainly call someone that you trust and say, can we talk this through, because I'm nervous about it? And that's great. You need those sort of sounding boards, but that person then can't take it and be the one who advocates for you. They can give you feedback, but it's up to you to put on your big girl pants and advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
One too, even though I don't always love it when it happens. But this one says, we're in story number 5. Success is on the other side of discomfort.
I have learned to be in discomfort.
To push past that discomfort and do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, you see things differently, right? You see, you can overcome. You can see the let's call it the mountain or the rainbow, right? When you're discomforted, maybe in the valley, but there can always be a positive piece to discomfort on the other side. Again, you might not be comfortable in the moment, but when you reflect back, I think there is some great positive pieces, right, from that situation.
Chadwell Supply is the proud sponsor of the Multifamily Media Network. Chadwell Supply is the largest privately owned MRO supply company and is committed to the multifamily industry. They deliver orders the next day from local warehouses across the United States. Chadwell Supply offers valuable resources such as maintenance training, a dedicated renovations team, and procurement platform assistance, ensuring multifamily properties operate more efficiently. Partnering with Chadwell Supply helps communities stand out in an increasingly competitive market. Learn more at chadwellsupply.com/difference.
And, you know, I think this could be interpreted in a lot of ways. And for me, I think it's important to realize generally that discomfort is mine, of
Mm,
my own making. Like, it doesn't mean that you stay in an abusive situation. It means that yes, I'm anxious and nervous and like a bundle of nerves, and somebody's asked me to do something I'm not sure I know how to do, but I'm gonna figure this out, right? I'm just gonna be uncomfortable, and eventually you get there. So yeah, success lies on the other side of that, not only because you've moved yourself forward in your pathway, but because you have this thing to celebrate. You have this victory on the other side of it. And so it gives you the courage to push past the next bit of discomfort because you believe in yourself that much more.
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, number 6 may sound a little strange on the surface, but I really love. I heard this in an interview, and it's make the main thing the main thing. And
Okay, wait, before you say anything, okay, this is a quick off the cuff, but if anybody is watching some reality TV while you're watching this episode of the podcast, that is the line in The Bachelorette right now.
oh,
So
nice.
that is
I have not heard that, so I didn't get it
yes.
from there.
So I want to make sure right, make the main thing the main thing. I do want to hear your perspective though, because that's the first thing that came to mind for
Oh,
me.
that's
So
so
I
funny. Yeah, I haven't seen The Bachelorette in a long time. So anyway, what this meant was this person had a lot of priorities, right? And it was easy
mm,
to let some things steal away from what they considered. If you asked them what's the most important thing to them, and to them it was their relationship with their spouse. And so when everything else was demanding their attention, it was the spouse who always had to sort of be the one who was okay with being sort of left not prioritized. And at the end of our lives, we won't have regretted that we didn't make that meeting or we didn't do that other work thing. We will have regretted that we didn't spend time. Make the main thing. If your main thing is your relationship, make that the main thing. That's the non-negotiable.
yeah, I even think about that in my space and work of like marketing, right? Like
Mhm.
marketing always gets thrown a bunch of things all the time and kind of making sure that we stick with what the main thing is, right? Like what are we really trying to stay focused on ultimately, right? As opposed to letting all of these kind of tennis balls be thrown at us that stay focused on what our main, our main goal is.
So true, because I've watched that happen in marketing my entire career, where they want you to do everything from immediately solve this crisis to, yeah, we want that one particular property to raise 2 points, and how can you make that happen? Like they want you to handle everything, and
Everything.
you've got to report on your big things. So if
Right.
you want to be helpful, but you also have to make sure that the thing that you're really most responsible for is the thing that is getting your attention.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
But you do this with your family too. I mean, I've seen
Oh yeah.
situations where you're like, nope, I've got a very important thing with my child, and that's the priority. I'm going to go do that. I'll check back
That's
in
right.
later.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. So keeping that main thing, the focus on what the main thing is.
So I think you have to ask yourself, what is my main thing? What's the most important thing to me? And then once you've identified that, then hold yourself accountable to that. It doesn't mean
For
that
sure.
your loved one is never going to be someone who has to just be understanding. There's always going to be that. But are you constantly putting them in the back seat?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So floor number 7, it says, know what you value most and try to find an organization that mirrors your values.
I think we all want this, right? But I think making sure first and foremost you know what your values are, right? And that's maybe writing them down or keeping those in the forefront, and then of course to your point, aligning an organization that you are with that mirrors those values, because it'll be a lot easier, I think, and a lot more fun, right, to work in an environment where things align and you're not constantly feeling like you are running up against a wall or trying to knock a wall down, and it's just very difficult.
Yeah, I've been in a situation where I accepted a job out of fear that maybe there wasn't a better one coming along. And I knew in my gut that we were not aligned. And so I
Yeah,
spent a lot of time banging my head against a situation that was never, yeah, I was never going to win there. And nor could I be my best self there, right? Because I'm
correct.
constantly, and
Yep.
that I'm not trying to demonize anyone else. I'm just saying if we're not aligned at all, if we're pretty far apart, then you can't Money won't fix that. Perks
Nope.
won't fix that. You can get paid the most you've ever been paid, and you still can be miserable in a situation if you just cannot, if you're not aligned at your core. So I think whether that's an organization or in your work, or if it's a
Yeah,
personal place where you spend your time, if those folks and you don't see things at all the same, then maybe that's not the place to devote your energy. It's a gut check, I think, that
for
we can make
sure.
again and again.
Absolutely.
Do you want to wrap us up on story 8 with Paul Rhodes' submission?
Yes. Yes. And this one is from Einstein. Is that right?
I think so.
Okay. So he submits and shares with us, which I love. The important thing is to not stop questioning. And I am a big questioner myself. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. One cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, and the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery every day. Never lose a holy curiosity. God, the first thing that came to mind is curiosity in kids, right? Stay curious and stay curious as you get older in your job. Like, I'm a big fan of asking questions. You learn that way, right? You can grow that way. You can see things differently. So I love questions.
I love curiosity in all its forms. But it sort of goes back to some things we were talking about even earlier in this session where we said, it's never too soon to try something new. That requires some curiosity.
Yeah.
But that Einstein, who was, such an accomplished and smart gentleman, saw curiosity as something to constantly be looking at the world and being in awe, really, of all the mysteries that it held. I believe that we could always benefit from a sense of genuine curiosity. If you approach a conversation or any learning opportunity with a genuine curiosity, you're bound to walk away better than you entered.
Oh, absolutely. 100% walk away. Changed for the better, right? Because you've learned something.
Because
Sure.
you know something a little more. I mean, that's one of the reasons I kind of like it when you go to a museum or something. You just leave with, even when we were in Philadelphia and we were looking at the brain section of the Ben Franklin Museum, that was really fascinating just to stop and look at all the progress that they've made in the study of the brain. Not something I would ordinarily have walked into, but I love that I did.
And I think as humans, we are born, right, to be curious, right? We're born to ask questions, and we're the type to seek those things out. So stay curious. Don't kind of get complacent, and just be okay with things. And I think, and even in organizations, they want employees, who are going to ask questions, who are going to kind of unveil the orange or see it differently, because that's how we all grow.
Absolutely. Well, these were 8 great pieces of advice, and we would love to hear what's some of the best advice you've ever received. So please share with us in the comments below. And I think we'll probably bring this back again for a part 2 because we've received some other advice, but we'd love to include your advice in that next episode. So be sure to tell us all about it. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of 8 Stories, and we will be back again next week.
Thank you again to Chadwell Supply for sponsoring this episode. Chadwell Supply delivers unforgettable service with next-day delivery, online and in-person maintenance training, and procurement platform assistance to make ordering simpler. Visit www.chadwellsupply.com/difference to learn how Chadwell Supply will make your day